Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and good Shabbos.
Shabbat Shalom, good Shabbos.
As you hear, or you should hear, the pistachios are back, and I am so blessed to have them here today. As I said last night, yesterday was the 20th anniversary of my ordination, which seems hard to believe. And the talit I'm wearing is not 20 years old. It's well over 30 years old. It's a talit that I got when I was, I guess, started in graduate school somewhere. But the atara, the crown that is, or the band was my brother's ordination gift to me. So I've been wearing this talit with this atara for 20 years. And when I want to be close to my brother, I wear this talit because I feel that his presence is with me, even though he's in Pennsylvania. But yes, that was his ordination gift to me, and I wear it very proudly and with great love, with ahava rabbah. See that? Ahava rabbah. Yes, a little bit of Hebrew humor to start the day, or a pun. All right, let's start with a little bit of gratitude. We're going to warm up. We're going to begin with Birkot HaShachar, what are called the morning blessings, kind of like when you go to the gym, or when you're tuning your instrument, or when you're doing vocal exercises before you sing, before you start doing the heavy stuff, you warm up a little bit. And that's what Birkot HaShachar and Pesukei D'Zimra are. There are warm-ups. Important, we do them, but it gets us in the mood. It helps us focus. So we'll start our focus with some gratitude. Modeh Ani on page 68. Modeh Ani lefanecha, melech chai v'kayam. Modeh Ani lefanecha, melech chai v'kayam. Shehechezarta bi nishmati bechemla rabba emunatecha modeh ani lefanecha melech chai v'kayam. All right. Matovu. How wonderful, or how nice, or how beautiful are your tents, Jacob. And when they say Yaakov here, they don't mean Jacob, the patriarch, but they mean Yaakov for Israel. All right, so the individual represents the group, and there's a fancy literary term for that, and I cannot remember it off the top of my head. Metonymy? Metonymy?
Taking the part to represent the whole.
I think so. There you go. Thank you, Scott.
Yeah. English majors for the win.
Yes. I used to know it. I used to have all that in my head. Now it's all in Hebrew. But Yaakov stands in for Israel. And Yaakov for Israel, because we know that Yaakov has his name changed to Israel. And so there's that nice little twist there. But Matovu comes out of the Torah, comes out of the book of Numbers. This is the curse that Bilam gives to Israel. Says, you got nice tents, right? That's the biggest curse he can come up with. And we'll be seeing that story in several weeks later in the book of Numbers. Top of page 74. Matovu, Matovu, Matovu alecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael, Mishkenotecha Yisrael, Va'ani berov chastecha, Ahavo veitecha, Eshtachave, El heichal kodshecha, V'yiratecha, El heichal kodshecha, V'yiratecha. Adonai ahavti me'on beitecha, U'mekom mishkan kavodecha, va'ani ashtachave ve'echra evrecha lifnei Adonai osi. Va'ani tefilati lecha Adonai rahatzon Elohim ברוך הסתך ענני ואמת אישך. Page 76, we just thanked, in Modeh Ani, we thanked God for returning our soul, a little bit of the spiritual aspect, and now we thank God for the wonder that is our body with Asher Yatzar. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher yatzar et hadam b'chokhmah uvaravo nekavim chalulim galui v'yadua lifnei chisei chivodecha she'im yepateach echad mehem o yisatem echad mehem אי אפשר להתקיים ולעמוד לפניך. ברוך אתה אדוני רופא כל בשר ומפליא לעשות. We build on that. We build on the idea of thanking God for our body as we turn to page 80, Nisim B'Kol Yom, also known by another name, a more common name is Birkot HaShachar, the morning blessings. And again, we had a general blessing thanking God for our bodies, and now we get more specific, thanking God for giving us the ability to wake up, to see, to stand, to bend over, to do all sorts of wonderful things with our bodies. And so we'll be chanting these together, page 80. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan l'sechvi bina lahavchin ben yom uben layla. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokef kefufim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam roka haaretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamechin mitzadei gaver. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam malbish arumim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hanoten layev koach. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hama'avir sheina me'inai utnuma me'afapai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani b'tzelem Elohim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani ben chorin. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ozer Yisrael b'gvura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam oter Yisrael b'tifara. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. And near the bottom of 86, let's read together in English. O Adonai, our God, let the words of Torah be sweet in our mouths and the mouths of your people Israel, so that we, our descendants, and the descendants of all your people Israel may know you by studying your Torah for its own sake. Blessed are you, Adonai, who teaches Torah to your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, hamelamed Torah li'amo Yisrael. Page 88, Elu Devarim. These are the things. Elu Devarim she'en lahem shior, she'adam ochel perutehem ba'olam hazeh, v'hakeren kayemet lo li'olam haba. ve'elu hein kibud av ve'aim ugemilut chasadim v'hashkamat beit hamidrash shacharit va'aravit v'hachnasat orachim uvikur cholim v'hachnasat kala ulebiyat hamet v'iyun tefillah v'hava'at shalom bein adam l'chavero v'talmud Torah keneged kulam. Yes, thought and deed, deed and thought. All right, Kaddish the Rabbanan, the Rabbi's Kaddish, page 90 and 92, and mourners and those observing yard site may also join in this. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah ve'alma divrach hiruteh ve'amlich malchuteh b'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shmei dekudesha b'richu. Le'elam inkol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiram v'yalma v'yimru amen. Al Yisrael v'al Rabbanan v'al Talmidehon v'al kol Talmidehon v'al kol man daskim b'oraita di v'yatra hadein v'di v'chol atar v'atar Yehei lahon ulchon shlama rabba china v'chista v'rachamin v'chayin orichin u'mezinei revichei u'fukana min kodom u'vahon debishmaya v'yara v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shmaya v'chayim tovim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav hu b'rachamav yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'yimru amen. All right, we have finished, brought Birkot HaShachar to an end. And that was traditionally done either at home or when you would get to shul, people would be davening at their own pace, right? All the way through Psukei de Zimra as well. If you started with the Shliach Tzibor, if you started with the person who was leading services, you followed along with them. But if you came in later, you picked up where you normally would pick up, and then you caught up. And then when you got to the Baruch Hu, wherever you were, you stopped and you picked up with the Baruch Hu, right? So up to the Baruch Hu was done kind of loosey-goosey in a way, right? You had the Shliach Tzibor leading so that the prayers got said, and then people would just kind of fill in and get up to speed. And then when the Baruch Hu, there would be a klop on the stender, and then everybody got on the same page, because now the heavy, trying to think of the right word because I don't want to disparage Birkot HaShachar and Psukei de Zimra, the meaty prayers were about to start, the Shema and the Amidah. We're on page 94, beginning of Psukei de Zimra, verses of Psalm and Praise. Baruch Shamar v'haya olam, Baruch Hu, Baruch Oseh Reshit, Baruch Omer v'yoseh, Baruch Gozer Makayim, Baruch Merchem al Haaretz, Baruch Merchem al Habriot, Baruch Mishalem Sachar Tov Re'av, Baruch Hailad V'Kayam L'Netzach, Baruch Podeh Umatzil, Baruch Shemo. Let's continue reading in the English. With songs of praise, we extol you and proclaim your sovereignty, for you are the source of life in the universe, one God, life of the universe, praised and glorious ruler, your name is eternal. Blessed are you, Adonai, sovereign, who is glorified through praise. Baruch atah Adonai, melech mehulal b'tishbachot. Page 96, Psalm 92, the Psalm for Shabbat. Every day of the week has a psalm, and the psalm for Shabbat is Psalm 92. We're going to do this. We have the tune for the beginning, and we'll continue silently, and then we'll come back together for Tzadik Katamar. Mizmor shir liyom hashabbat, tov lehodot ladonai, ulzamer lishimcha elyon, lehagid baboker chastecha, ve'emunatecha baleilot, alei asur valei navel, alei higayon bechinur, alei asur valei navel, alei higayon bechinur. ישבר לו ידיה, וכיסיר לו יבין את זאת. צדיקתה יפרח, כארז בלבנון, יזכה שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו. עוד ינובו בשיבה, דשנים ורעננים יהיו להגיד, כי אשר אדוני צורי ולא עוולתה בו. All right, page 97, Psalm 145, with a little help from its friends. Ashrei, Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha, Od Yehalelu Chasela. Tila LeDavid, Armimcha Elohai HaMelech, V'avarcha Shimcha Le'olam Va'ed. Gadol Adonai U'Me'al Me'od, V'ligdolato Ein Cheker. Hadar kivod hodecha, v'divrei niflotecha asicha. Zecher rav tuvcha yabihu, v'tzidkatecha yiranenu. Tov Adonai lakol, v'rachamav al kol ma'asav. Kevod malchutecha yomeru, ugvoratecha yedaberu. Malchutecha malchut kol olamim, umemshaltecha b'chol dor v'ador. Einei chol elecha yesaberu, v'yata noten lahem et oklam be'ito. Tzadik Adonai b'chol drachav, v'chasid b'chol ma'asav. Ritzon yireav yaseh, v'et shavatam yishma v'yoshiem. Tehilat Adonai daber pi, v'yivarecho basar shem kodsho le'olam va'ed. Anachnu nevarech Yaha, me'ata v'ad olam. Hallelujah. All right. You know what? Page 100 for Psalm 150 in the Siddur that we use for the holidays, for Yantif that we put together. Psalm 150 is also on the page marked 100. Something about that psalm on the page 100. We'll have to see. Maybe there's some mystical explanation that we can find. Page 100. Hallelujah. Oops, I started it. I was going to do the tune that I usually do. Well, let's do that. Let's do mine. Hallelujah. Hallelujah el bekodsho. Hallelujah birkia uzo. Hallelujah bigvorotav. Hallelujah berov gudlo. Hallelujah bateka shofar. Hallelu benevel v'chinor. Hallelu betofu machol. Hallelu b'minim lugav. Hallelu b'tziltzalei shama. Hallelu b'tziltzalei trua. Kol haneshama tehallel. Hallelujah. Kol haneshama tehallel. Hallelujah. I know, I like that one. Page 100 at the top. I'm sorry, 101 at the top. Nishmat kol chai, tivarech et shimcha Adonai Eloheinu. Beruch kol basar tifarech. In the middle of 101, let's read together in English. Let the soul of everything alive bless your name, Adonai our God, and the spirit of all flesh glorify and exalt your name forever, O sovereign. Transcending space and time, you alone are God. We have no sovereign besides you, God of the first and the last, God of all creatures, master of all generations, who is praised in a multitude of praises, who guides the world with abundant loving kindness and all creatures with mercy. Adonai neither slumbers nor sleeps. God awakens the sleeping, arouses those who slumber, gives speech to the mute. And God loosens the bonds of the captives. God supports the fallen and strengthens those who are bent over. You alone do we acknowledge. And we'll continue silently through the next number of pages. Yilufinu Malaysia, Kayam, Ulshonena, Rina, Kamon, Gala, Visitatino, Shaba, Imachade, Rakia, Aine, Maria, Glena, Aina, Nakamaskini, Lucha, Mayan, Etchmecha, Al-Khadi, Al-Afim. Okay, Nevarim. Kamor LeDavid, Barchi Nafshi et Adonai, V'chol Kravai et Shem Kodsho. Ha'el b'tatzumutu zecha, Hagadol b'kavod shemecha, Hagibor l'netzach v'hanora b'norotecha, Ha'melech ha'yoshev al kisei ram v'nisa, Shochein ad maharom v'kadosh shemo, V'katu ranenu tzadikim b'Adonai, L'sharin nava tehila, B'fi yesharin titalal, U'divrei tzadikim titbarach, U'belshon chasidim tichromam, U'vekerev kedoshim titkadash, U'v'makalot revevot amcha beit Yisrael, B'rina yitper shimcha malkeinu b'chol dor v'dor. Yishtabak shimcha lad malkeinu, Ha'el hamelech hagadol v'kadosh b'shamayim u'va'aretz, Ki lecha Adonai Eloheinu v'Elokei avoteinu v'imotenu, Shiru shvacha halel v'zimra, Ozu memshala, Netzach gedula ugevura, Tehila v'tiferet, Kedusha u'malchut, Brachot v'hodot, Me'ata v'yad olam. Baruch atah Adonai, El melech gadol batishbachot, El hahodot, Adon haniflaot, Habocher b'shirei zimra, Melech elchei ha'olamim. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, v'yamad yivrach Yerutei, v'yamlik malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomecho v'chayedecho Beit Yisrael, v'agalav yizman kariv v'yimru amen. Yesh me rabba v'varach li'olam olamei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitram v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitala shmei h'tekudisha brichu leila min kol birchata b'shirata tush b'chata v'nechamata damiram v'yalma v'yimru amen. Page 108, Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al mitzvat kriyat shema lehamlicho b'levav shalem ulyachto b'lev tov ulofto b'nefesh chafetza ulofto b'nefesh chafetza. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us how to recite the Shema, to declare wholeheartedly God's rule, to declare earnestly God is one, and to enthusiastically worship God. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer or uvorei choshech oseh shalom uvorei et hakol Amir la'aretz l'darim aleha b'rachamim u'tevot maseh b'reshit la'ribu masech Adonai kulam b'chol la'aretz kinayet Kinyanecha titbarach Adonai Eloheinu al shevach maseh yadecha yom yorei or shasita yefrucha sela or chadash al tzion ta'ir v'nischech ulanu mehera li'oro Baruch atah Adonai yotzer ha'me'orot. Top of 112. Ahava harabav tanu Adonai Eloheinu Chemla Gedola V'Teira Chamalta Aleinu. And in English, how deeply you have loved us, Adonai, our God, gracing us with surpassing compassion. On account of our forebears whose trust led you to teach them the laws of life, be gracious to us, teaching us as well. O merciful one, have mercy on us by making us able to understand and discern, to heed, learn, and teach, and lovingly to observe, perform, and fulfill all that is in your Torah. V'ha'ereneinu b'toratecha, v'dahabek lebeinu b'mitzvotecha, v'yachel levaveinu Li'ahava u'yira et shemecha v'lo nevosh le'olam kalem v'lo nikashel le'olam va'ed ki v'shem kodshecha Hagadol v'hanora b'hatachnu Nagila v'nismecha v'yishuatecha v'havienu l'shalom me'arba konfot ha'aretz v'tolichenu k'mumiut li'artzeinu ki el poel yeshuot ata Ubanu v'charta v'keravtanu l'shimcha hagadol sela v'yemet lehodot l'chal yohetcha b'ahava Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'amo Yisrael b'ahava Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol lavavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha. V'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlektecha ha'vaderech uv'shokbecha uvkumecha ukshartam li'ot al yadecha v'hayu latotafot b'neinecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor, dahaber el bnei Yisrael, v'amarta lehem, v'asu lehem tzitzit, al kanfei vigdehem ledorotam, v'natnu al tzitzit hakenaf betil techeled. V'hayalem litzitzit uritem oto uzchartem et kol mitzvot Adonai v'asitem otam v'lo katuhu acharei levavchem v'acharei nechem asher atem zonim achareihem. Lemhan tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim lelohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem, Emet. V'yatzivahu v'chaviv v'nora adir v'tov v'yafeh hadavar hazeh aleinu le'olam v'ehem le'olam. Malkeinu tzur Yaakov magen yishenu ledor vador kaim u'shmo kayam v'chiso nachon u'muchoto v'emunoto la'ad kayamet u'debarav chayim v'kayamim v'ne'amanim v'nechamadim la'ad olamei olamim mitzrayim galtan Adonai Eloheinu mibeit avadim al zot shivhu ahuvim v'romamu el v'natnu yedidim v'zimrot shirot v'tishbachot brachot v'hodot lemelach el chai v'kayam Avraham v'nisa gadol v'nora mashpil ge'im u'magbiha shefalim motzi asirim ufodeh avnavim v'ozer dalim v'oneh la'amo beit shavam. Top of 121, let's read responsively. Emet, there is no place where you are not, even in the wilderness, there is your word.
Emet, that pen strokes of lightning, white fire, black flames, stir the soul's passion, guide our sacred way, true and enduring is Torah.
Your truth for us is certain and established now and forevermore. Like Moses, Miriam, and all Israel, we sing out and rejoice.
Tehilot le'el elyon, baruch u'mvorach, Moshe v'nei Yisrael, Lacha anu shira b'simcha rabba v'yamru chulam mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh nohora tehilot osefele Shira chadasha shivchu geulim leshimcha al sefat hayam yachad kulam hodu v'himlichu v'yamru Adonai yimloch Leolam vaed. Tzur Yisrael, Kuma v'ezrat Yisrael, Uvtechinu mecha, Yehuda v'Yisrael. Go aleinu Adonai tzvaot shemo, Kedosh Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Gal Yisrael. We are at the centerpiece prayer of the Shacharit service, the Amidah, and we'll begin together chanting 124, 126, 128, and yes, 130 together. And then we'll continue silently through the end on 142. You can follow along and chant along with us in the Hebrew. You can read the English translation, or you can take this time to offer up your own personal prayer and meditation. Page 124. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Ha'gibor, Ha'nora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei HaKol, Vezocher Chasdei Avot Ve'imahot, Umevi Goel Lifnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magin. Baruch atah Adonai, Magin Avraham, V'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye Metim Atara V'Hoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechalkeh Chaim V'Chesed, Mechaye Metim V'Rachamim Rabim, Sohomech Noflim V'Rofeh Cholim, Umatir Hasurim, Umekahaye Be'emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Bal Givurot, Umidom Melach, Melech Meimit Umechahaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah l'hachayot meitim, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hametim. Nikadesh et shimcha ba'olam, Keshem shemakdishim oto b'shmei maron, Kakatuv al yad neviecha, V'kara zeh el zeh ve'amar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot, Melochol haaretz, Kivodo. Adir Adirenu Adonai Adonenu, Ma'adir Shimcha B'chol haaretz. Baruch Kivod Adonai Mikoho. Echad hu Eloheinu, hu Avinu, hu Malkeinu, hu Moshienu, vehu Yashnienu, berachamav le'enei kol chai. Ahani Adonai Elohechem, Imloch Adonai le'olam, El לדור ודור. הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא יבוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. Still completing your Amidah, please take your time, continue at your own pace. We're going to continue on the top of page 132 together in English. Those who keep Shabbat by calling it a delight will rejoice in your realm. The people that hallow Shabbat will delight in your goodness. For being pleased with the seventh day, you hallowed it as the most precious of days, drawing our attention to the work of creation. Page 134. Our God and God of our ancestors, be pleased with our rest. Sanctify us with your mitzvot and grant us a share in your Torah. Satisfy us with your goodness and gladden us with your salvation. Purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Adonai our God, grant us your holy Shabbat as a heritage. May Israel, who sanctifies your name, rest on Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-Shabbat. All right, page 139. 139. A little bit of hoda'ah, a little bit of gratitude. Start the morning with gratitude for our souls and our body. And now at the end of the Amidah, always room for gratitude. The Amidah set up in three distinct sections. You have the opening brachot called the Avot and the Gevurot, right? And then you have the Kedusha that you would offer, but you have that first section, and that is reminding us of reminding God of God's relationship with us, right? Why it's the Avot and the Gevurot. We remind God that, hey, we have a long-standing relation with you. You're awesome. Then, and that always stays the same. Always stays the same, whether it's Shabbat, Yantif, Yom Kippur. There might be a couple of additions for the high holidays or something. Always stays the same. The end also always stays the same, which is the gratitude part, thanking God for all the things that God has done for us. The middle part is what changes, right? During the week, it's 13 brachot in the middle, asking God for all sorts of things. So we remind God that we have a relationship. We ask God for something, and then we thank God. But on Shabbat, we don't ask God for things. It's considered bad taste, right? It's a day of rest. And so in the middle part, it's sections about Shabbat. So in the evening, there's a certain section about Shabbat. In the morning section, there's something about Shabbat. Musaf, the additional service for Shabbat mornings, there's a slightly different thing. And then even in the afternoon for Mincha, there's a slightly different take on Shabbat in the middle of the Amidah. But it always, begins the same, always ends the same. What changes is in the middle. And we always close out with Hoda'ah, right? Calling us to recognize the good, the hakarat hatov, and to be thankful for it. And so on 139, let's read responsively. And I'm going to ask Scott to start this one.
For the expanding grandeur of creation, worlds known and unknown, galaxies beyond galaxies, filling us with awe and challenging our imaginations.
Modim anachnu lach.
For this fragile planet Earth, its times and tides, its sunsets and seasons.
Modim anachnu lach. For the joy of human life, its wonders and surprises, its hopes and achievements.
Modim anachnu lach. For human community, our common past and future hope, our oneness transcending all separation, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the midst of hostility and oppression.
Modim anachnu lach.
For high hopes and noble causes, for faith without fanaticism, for understanding of views not shared.
Modim anachnu lach. For all who have labored and suffered for a fairer world, who have lived so that others might live in dignity and freedom.
Modim anachnu lach. For human liberties and sacred rights, for opportunities to change and grow, to affirm and choose.
Modim anachnu lach. We pray that we may live not by our fears, but by our hopes, not by our words, but by our deeds. Blessed are you, Adonai. Your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha u'lacha na'el lehodot. I did that because I think Scott and Tam were memorizing their parts. And so keep them awake. Moved it around a little bit.
We've proven we can read the other bits.
Yes, we can read the other bits. That's it. That is it. All right. And then we always close out the Amidah and all of our major prayers with a prayer for peace. Page 140, Sim Shalom. Sim Shalom, Tova Uvracha, Chen V'Chesed V'Rachamim, Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael Amecha, Barcheinu Yotzreinu Kulanu Ke'echad Bior Panecha. Ki Bior Panecha Nahatata Lanu Adonai Eloheinu Torat Chaim V'Ahavat Chesed Utzdaka uvracha vrachamim vrachamim v'chaim v'shalom v'rachamim v'chaim v'shalom v'tov be'enecha l'varech et amecha Yisrael b'chol eit u'b'chol shah b'shlomecha. Baruch atah Adonai, hamivorech et amo Yisrael, Shalom. Interesting word in there that we see twice in Sim Shalom, but it shows up throughout the davening, and we often just kind of pass by it. The word rachamim. Rachamim is a great, great word. It means kindness. That's chesed. Chesed is really kindness or righteousness. But rachamim really is mercy. Rachamim. It comes from the Hebrew word rechem, which is an anatomical part. It's a part of the body. And I didn't say it's a part of our body because I don't have one. Rechem means womb, W-O-M-B. And the rabbis, and then much later the mystics, acknowledge that God has a masculine side, a side of din, judgment, and a side of rechem, of mercy, of compassion, a feminine side. And they use that word rachamim to say that, of course, God has a feminine side because God has mercy on God's children, just like a mother has mercy on her children because she carries them in her womb. She is very close to them. And so why she has that rechem, and that becomes rachamim, and God has rachamim because God has that feminine side, that softer side, not meaning soft in terms of what God can do or what God can't do or what a woman can do or can't do, but a more compassionate side, a side that is opposite of din, a side that is opposite of judgment. And so I love that word. Every time I see rachamim, it makes me smile, makes me happy that I can say that word about our God. Just chatty today. Page 253, we'll continue with the Mishaberach. Mishaberach on for those who need a little bit of extra healing this weekend, whether it's physical, emotional, spiritual, whatever the healing is. It's also a reminder to us to reach out to people, to let them know that they're not alone in their time of need. Top of page 253. Mishaberach avotenu Mishaberach avotenu ve'imotenu. Avraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, v'Leah. Hu yivarech et hacholim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu yimalei rachamim aleihem, l'achlimam, l'rapotam, l'achzikam, v'yishlach lehem mehera refuah shlema min hashemayim, refuah tanefesh, refuah taguf, hashta bagala bizman kariv, v'nomar, Amen. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill. May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit. And let us say, Amen. Prayers for our community, pages 258 and 259, for our congregation, our country, for Yerushalayim and Medinat Yisrael. And we'll read these together. Source of all being, may the children of this community learn these passions from us: love, Torah, devotion in prayer, and support of the needy. May we guide with integrity, and may our leadership be in your service. May those who teach and nourish us be blessed with satisfaction, and may we appreciate their time and their devotion. Bless us with the fruits of wisdom and understanding, and may our efforts bring fulfillment and joy. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levadcha b'yirah na'avod. Thus says Adonai, this is what I desire, to unlock the fetters of wickedness and untie the cords of lawlessness, to let the oppressed go free, to break off every yoke. Share your bread with the hungry and take the wretched poor into your home. When you see the naked, give clothing, and do not ignore your own kin. If you banish the yoke from your midst, the menacing hand, the evil speech, if you offer compassion to the hungry and satisfy the famished creature, then your light shall shine in darkness. Sha'alu shalom Yerushalayim, Yilish li'au ohavayich. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May those who love you prosper. Avinu Shabashamayim, Tzur Yisrael v'go'alo, Barech et Medinat Yisrael, Reshit Smichat Gulatenu, Hagein Aleha Bi'evrat Chastecha, Ufros Aleha Sukat Shlomecha, Ushlach Orcha Va'amitecha L'Rasheha Soreha V'yoetzeha, V'takneim Be'etza Tova Milfanecha, V'natata Shalom Ba'aretz, V'simchat Olam Li'yoshveha, V'nomar, Amen. O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seeks peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love, spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen. Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and good Shabbos.
Shabbat Shalom again,
And
Shabbos.
I love it when they're here. I love it when they're here. I missed the panecha the last couple of weeks. It's here by myself. One of the pressing questions facing modern American Judaism is, how do we get people involved? Some phrase the question as, how do we make Judaism more meaningful? However, I think that the focus should be on us and not so much the tradition. I think our tradition is very meaningful. We just have to know how and where to look. I like to believe that we can find meaning in even the most arcane parts of the Torah. This week's Parsha, Naso, has one of the more striking institutions in biblical Israel. This person was known as the Nazarite. And this person took on a vow of abstaining from grapes or grape products, from cutting their hair, and from coming into contact with the dead. There were two other stringencies to become a Nazarite. The vow needed to cover a specific period of time. According to the Talmud, it had to last, this vow, at least 30 days. And the vow was only applicable in the land of Israel. This week's Torah portion provides us with the framework for the Nazarite, including the proper rituals in case the Nazarite became ritually tainted, and the appropriate way of restoring that ritual purity. And while being a Nazarite was popular in the biblical era, both Samson, Shimshon, and the prophet Shmuel, Samuel, were Nazarites. And it was popular in the Talmudic period as well. This custom seemed to have faded out sometime during the Middle Ages. In fact, there's no mentions of Nazarites after the closing of the Talmud, roughly around the 7th century of the current era. So, as 21st century Jews, when we read about these people who abstained from wine, who grew their hair long, and who were extra careful about coming into contact with the dead, what are we to think about them? What's their significance to us? What can we learn from them? We know from reading the Torah that there was, and still is, a threefold division of the people Israel. We know this hierarchy very well. We have the Kohen, the Levi, and the Israel. The Kohanim, our priestly class, were chosen to take care of the spiritual needs of Bnei Yisrael. They were the ones who took care of the Mishkan and later the temple and offered the sacrifices. The Torah also outlines the duties of the Levite, who were the assistants to the Kohanim. They were kind of schleppers in a way. They were kind of assistant Kohanim, and they made up the choir that sang on the steps of the temple. They sang the Psalms, they sang religious hymns. But what was available, or what is available to the third class of Bnei Yisrael, the Israelite? How in the biblical period could a run-of-the-mill person, a run-of-the-mill Jew, motivated by piety, find a way to express that burning devotion and faith? Yes, the festivals and their attended pilgrimages were open to everyone, and for many, these were the high points of the calendar year. However, many of the laws in the Torah pertain only to the Kohanim, who administered the korbanot, the sacrifices. Those were the things that brought us closer to God. And the shoftim, the judges, were also important, and they adjudicated the civil matters. But what about the Jew who wanted to do more, who wanted to make their lives an offering of love to God? For such a person, the Torah provides the institution of the Nazir, the Nazarite. Scholars have often noted parallels between the Kohen and the Nazir. Both cannot touch alcohol during their moments of Kedusha, of holiness, and both cannot come into contact with the dead. And the heads of both are the foci of their sanctity. The Kohen wore special headdresses, and the Nazir did not cut his hair. And both are declared holy to the Lord. So it seems to me that the clergy class, the rabbis and the cantors of our tradition do not have a monopoly on holiness. Granted, the privileges of being a rabbi or a cantor are many. As a rabbi, I get to lead services, select sermon and teaching topics, and to help organize the community. I spend just about every waking moment in service of the Creator and to Klal Yisrael, the Jewish people and our community. Now, a great many lay people are more than happy to leave all this all-consuming Judaism in my hands. For them, it's enough to know that I will be there for them in their celebrations and in their times of need and sorrow. But there are other Jews for whom this is not enough. They know that they are heirs to a covenant God established with our ancestors, and this covenant is no less binding to them, to us. They know that this covenant was not made just between Moshe and Aharon, just between the Kohanim and the Levi'im. They know that this covenant was made with every Jew, past and present. And they know that each of us is called to a special relationship with God. And they know that this relationship can be as deep and as all-consuming as they will allow it to be. In the biblical period, these Jews could take the paths of the Nazir. By becoming a Nazirite, these Jews could make the relationship to God central and public. But what about today? What can today's Jew do who has a deep spiritual union, who has a desire to make the relationship to God deeper and to make their Judaism a priority? Should we bring back the Nazirite vow for them? I don't think so. The people who want to place Judaism first and foremost in their lives need to look no further than their own synagogues. Every rabbi I know, myself included, is waiting for these people to step up, to reclaim their heritage. Chazanim, cantors, are eager to teach new prayers and tunes, Torah and Haftarah chanting. Programs for adult education exist and thrive because someone was seeking something that didn't yet exist. Like the Nazirite, we all can stand apart and participate fully in the amazing pageantry of Jewish life. We don't have to take vows. Rather, we can become enthusiastic participants in the rich tapestry of synagogue life, as participants in adult education, as participants and leaders of services, as members of the board and committees. When we take up the challenge to observe the mitzvot and to become part of our tradition, we claim our places in line with all others who served God and who continue to serve God with great joy. And because of our example, because of your example, perhaps others will follow and lead meaningful Jewish lives. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may it be so. Shabbat Shalom and good Shabbos.
Shabbat Shalom and good Shabbos.
I like it. Oh, I like that. All right. Scott, I was a little Scott and Tam. Scott and Tam? Tam and Scott?
Either way.
Scam?
Tot.
Tot?
Tot scam.
Tot scam. It sounds,
All the tater tots. Nobody else gets any.
it sounds something nefarious.
Yeah.
Who are you with? Tot scam. Is that legal? In some states. I was verbose today. I chatted a lot. I think we should go back and do it just straight through.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, we're down.
All right. Yeah, maybe not. Page 282, we'll begin to close out services. Aleinu. Aleinu l'shapeach la'adon ha'kol, la'teit gedula liotzer reshit, shelo asanu k'goyei haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'dama, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו ההוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, כך כתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשב אותה אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת עינו. אוקיי, כבוד לך אלוהינו, כי המלכות שלך היא ולעולמי תמלוך בכבוד, כך כתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו echad. This week we observed the following yahrzeits: Morton S. Cohn, Ed Island's brother-in-law; Rebecca Eisenberg, Mary Cantor's sister and Rena's aunt; Samuel Footlick, Betty Kolker's maternal grandfather; Edith Fetter Gamoran, sister of Herman, Simon Henry, and Noah Fetter; Nikki Annette Goldstein Katz, Bernice Stearns' sister; Jack Pressman, Tom's father; Edith Fallon, Harry's first wife, mother of Eileen, Ron, and Denise; Dr. Herman Poland, relative of Ronald Poland; Bessie Schlossberg, mother of Gazella Macinter; Nancy Snyder, Stephen's mother; Charles Poland Jr., husband of Carol, son of Ruth and Charles; Esther Mussman, Herman Glazer's aunt; Minnie Friedberg, Goldie Fetter's sister; Morris Edelson, relative of Evelyn Weil; Leonard E. Hartz, husband of Ruby, father of Murray and William. May their souls be bound up in the bond of life eternal. May their memories be a blessing to us all, and may they all rest in peace. Mourner's Kaddish is found on page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, bi'alma divrach hirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehe shmei rabbah mevorach le'olam l'mei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shmei dekudisha brichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata da'amiram bi'alma v'yimru, amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru, amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru, amen. All right, friends, that brings us very, very close to the end of services. Just a couple of quick announcements. Services tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Monday evening, our deep dive into the Torah, our deep dive into Sefer Bereshit continues Monday night at 6:30. And so please join us, or if you know someone who wants to join us, let them know. Wednesday night, of course, Wednesday night, the Yiddish choir, the best Yiddish choir anywhere. Don't keep that a secret. Let everybody know. I want New York to come knocking and saying, hey, we've got a better Yiddish choir. I don't think so. Not even close. But that's Wednesday night at 7, also on Zoom, brought to you by Scamtot. Or it could be SOT. SMOT. Anyway, that is Wednesday. And then we're back for services Friday night, Shabbat morning, and the like. And then starting next Sunday, you'll get the email for this week. Our summer adult ed, let my people know. We're going to do a survey of the Talmud. We're going to learn a number of rabbinic stories that come out of the Talmud. And it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. We're going to learn about the problems an oven caused. We're going to learn what happens when an unfortunate fellow falls off a roof. We're going to learn about what the rabbis have to say about talking smack about people. We're going to learn what happened when Moses, through God's mysterious powers, was able to visit the learning hall of Rabbi Akiva. And there's a couple of more. We're going to do 2 a month. We're going to do 2 classes a month. We're going to starting next week, and then we're going to have 2 in June, July, and August. And so no previous experience necessary. Text will be in Hebrew, Aramaic, and English. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun because these are pieces of the Talmud that I think everybody should know and should be familiar with some of these stories because they show up all over the place, these kinds of stories. And we're going to learn how the rabbis think. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And I guarantee you some of the stories are going to have you scratching your heads and laughing and just thinking about these rabbis in a whole different light. So that's going to be the adult ed for the summer. And then after the high holidays, we'll have a whole brand new slate of classes getting ready to go. So, and I think that's it. It's a quiet week here at the shul. No holidays, no meetings, just a quiet day and a quiet day today, Shabbat, and a quiet week. Looks like the weather out there is absolutely delightful. And so go on out and enjoy your Shabbat. Take a walk, then come home, take a shluf, and then have a good day and a good week. So let's close out page 322. Ein Keloheinu. Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadoneinu, Ein Kimalkeinu, Ein Kamoshienu, Mi Eloheinu, Mi Chadonenu, Mi Chimalkeinu, Mi Kamoshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Malkeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu, Atahu Shektiru, Avahotenu, Lefanecha Eketoret Asamim. All right, one more stop along the Shabbat ride, and that is Kiddush. Yay! Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל B'nei Yisrael oti le'olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית העולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית העולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית העולם. זכור יום השבת לקדשו, 6 ימים תעבוד ועשית כל מלאכתך, ויום השביעי שבת לאדוני אלוהיך, לא תעשה כל מלאכה, אתה ובנך וביתך, עבדך ואמתך בהמתך וגרך, אשר בשעריך, כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, את הים ואת כל אשר בם, וינח ביום השביעי, על כן ברך אדוני את יום השבת, ויקדשהו סברי. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן. All right, I want to say Todah and Yasher Koach to Sam and Tot. No, I'm sorry, to Scott and Tam for being here this morning with me. And who says hello, David Johnson, Shalom, good Shabbos, thank you. And Cliff Wanamaker, I'm sure Mom is there too. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. All right, everybody have a great Shabbat. Get some rest, go out and enjoy the day. Be careful out there, and we'll see you soon.